Welcome back to I-86 After Dark. Of course, you got Buffalo Bob, you got me, the Ginger Hammer, and of course, we are really lucky to have Mr. Seymour Knox IV. And of course, for anyone who follows Buffalo Sabres hockey, his family, his dad actually, Seymour H. Knox III, his uncle Northrop Knox, were the two that brought the Buffalo Sabres to existence and brought the Sabres and allowed the Sabres to start back in 1970. And of course, we all get to enjoy the franchise we have today. And I want to say, first and foremost, Mr. Knox, it is an honor to have you here. And thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Tom. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're very thrilled to have you here. And what I wanted to do was to kick off the show tonight, talking a little bit about the Buffalo Sabres, of course. And of course, your family was instrumental in bringing the Sabres here. And um, looking back, what do you think that he saw in the city that made it ready to have an NHL franchise?
Well, Tom, originally, my dad and uncle applied for the NHL franchise in 1966 when they had the original NHL expansion when Minnesota, Philadelphia, St. Louis, Oakland, and I'm missing a team, but
Okay.
they at that time they all came in. Sadly, the Sabres uh, offer was turned down, and as fate would have it, a few years later, we had the opportunity. My dad had the opportunity to invest with the Oakland Seals with a guy named Barry Van Gerbig, and one of the conditions of Dad and Nordy's involvement was that they had to be an alternate governor uh, to the NHL as part of the Oakland franchise. So what that did is it gave them the opportunity to be in the room, hear what was going on in the league, and when they heard that they were going to be expanding again, to put together the best presentation that they could for the city of Buffalo.
It's interesting. But I actually am curious about something, and it's actually not written on here, but as part of this question, if Buffalo didn't come in into what it is today, like, did your dad or your uncle, for that matter, have like an alternative city presented to themselves? Like, if they said, well, if Buffalo's at the table, we could go to this location.
Actually, I think that opportunity ever came up when they got the franchise here. There was already an existing AHL franchise, the Buffalo Bisons, and occasionally you'll see the bottle cap logo floating
Yep.
around a gas station or on some of your friends. Maybe not so much on Long Island for you, Bob, but where Tom and
Well,
I are, we get to see them fairly
We do.
regularly.
We do.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting because the Islanders were not originally supposed to be an NHL team. They were originally supposed to be a WHA team. And what happened was how this came about was William Shea, who was the original owner of the New York Mets, wanted to bring a professional team to Long Island. And the Rangers were very against it. So they were like, well, we don't want another team in New York City. So what do we do? We can't have in Queens. So where do we go? And they figured, let's put them in Long Island. And the whole WHA project never came off the ground. So the league said, you know what? We want to put a team in Long Island before the WHA does. And that's where the Islanders were born. And I'm not mistaken, they were I guess they were established in 1972, and my dad was a season ticket holder from the very first game in 72 all the way to like 2009, which is a very long time, and he was there for everything as far as like the history of the Islanders and even some playoff games against the Sabres.
Yeah, we had a couple of good series against them, and battling Billy Smith was the nemesis
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
for the
it's
Sabres.
wasn't there like a moment because I wasn't alive, obviously. Well, maybe Tom was, but I think there was an incident with Billy Smith where he poke checked Lindy Ruff, and Lindy just came creasing into his crease, skating at him, and just like, "I'm gonna kick your ass," and they just started fighting. And if I'm not mistaken, it was during a playoff game.
I could probably believe that. I was
Yeah. Yeah, there was actually. I think I think you are right about that because I remember there was an incident with it, and Lindy Ruff did not take to it too well, and it was pretty much all hands on deck. Then, of course, I remember even going even a little bit later. Then, of course, I remember some interesting games with the Sabres and the Islanders, Rob Ray versus Steve Webb, and different rivalries that happened there too. But I think you are right about that.
I want to say I am because, like I said, my dad was a season ticket holder for those years and before the dynasty even began. And this was like when the Islanders were like a crap franchise. So it's like he was there from the moment they started. And then I think they met in like 1980 in the Prince of Wales Championship Series against Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken.
Could have been. I was out of town at that moment in time.
Okay. So it's kind of vague in your memory, is basically what it
At
is.
least, at least for the Islander series, because at that point in time where I was living, um, cable TV was in its infancy, and we might not have had Sabre games in New York City or Boston at that time.
Sure.
Well, it's funny because even now, I don't even get Saber games locally unless I get like Gotham Sports, which I think you have to have like a provider in Buffalo or something like that. I know for a fact that you have to have it like MSG connected to your like your phone or like your provider. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but the Sabres are covered on there for some reason. It's the only source in Long Island to watch the games for them, unless they're on like primetime TV.
Right.
So
Hopefully, we'll be on a few times this year.
Yes, yes. And of course, opening face-off is coming up Thursday night, so it'll be good to see how everything works out there. And but I did want to jump into another question with you as well, and I wanted to ask, how has your family's connection to the Sabres shaped your own view of sports as a cultural force?
Well, I had a misspent youth, Tom. The Sabres started in 1970, and at that point in time, I was 15 and 16, and we would have occasional dark days at the old Memorial Auditorium, or the Odd for
Hmm.
many of the locals. And I had the
Oh yeah.
opportunity, at 15 and 16 and 17, to play practice goalie with the Sabres. Roger Crozier was out. They used to give the starting goalies the day off the next day, and you get the opportunity to sort of step in and take shots, which was a great thrill, uh, at least for me.
Right. It's
and
interesting. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so you know, I was a Sabre fan from sort of day one back in 1966. My dad and uncle had been involved with the Buffalo Bisons hockey group. They were on the board with the pastors at that time. Jack Walsh was another local guy um, who was involved, and there were a number of other uh, members of Buffalo and our original Sabres ownership that had also participated with the Buffalo Bisons. So we had the opportunity, growing up to be there. We were exposed to sports at a very young age within the family. My dad and uncle played competitive polo. They played squash, tennis. My uncle Nordy was world champion in court tennis, 10 years undefeated. And we had been exposed to all those uh, games as kids, and as well as ping pong, which was the
Cool.
basis for all the racket sports that we had the opportunity to participate in. I also had two brothers and a sister, and they all are two, two out of those three are still very competitive athletes.
I
That's
was gonna
great.
say, were you a very good ping pong ball player, or were you just like average, do you think?
Well, I was okay till I met Grant Fuhrer.
Okay. Great goaltender.
Great reflexes, and we actually had a ping pong match with a former New York Islander and Buffalo Sabre New York Ranger in Pat LaFontaine, and Dad and Norty took on Pat and I think we beat them, and then I know we lost at least one game to them as well.
Ah,
Double,
man.
double swing possibly.
Interesting.
Well, it
Interesting.
Pat had he had a Stiga table in his basement.
absolutely.
Nice.
I mean, oh, what were you gonna say, Tom? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it was interesting you mentioned Roger Crozier as well too, because even though I wasn't around yet when he was playing at that time, I wasn't born until the early 1980s. But one of the things it was interesting, we actually talked with Craig Ramsey the other night and doing an interview as well, and he mentioned a lot of fun times with him, and of course I know spoke very highly of you ownership and the family as well too. So it was great to see that. But definitely one of the things that I remember you mentioning with the old odd, that was just one of those places. If you ever got to see a game there, you knew how special that building was back at that time, and there's so many great memories I remember growing up in there.
Absolutely, from cup hockey in the ramps to
Hmm.
the poor man's odd club. But at the
Yep.
time, we get a beef on weck or a bologna sandwich, which Bob, you probably never had that, but that's a local delicacy.
Hmm.
What,
And
beef on weck?
beef on weck is, but also a fried bologna sandwich with peppers and onions with melted cheese on the top.
Hmm.
Ooh, that sounds good,
There
Seymour.
you go.
I mean, I'll put it this way. I've never had it personally, but I have had beef on weck. I've had what else did I had? I've had beef on weck. I've had obviously buffalo wings. I mean, blue cheese all the way. Because I get asked that all the time. Like, am I a blue cheese guy or am I a ranch guy? I'm like, I'm going blue cheese all the way because screw ranch. Okay, ranch does not go well on fucking chicken wings. Okay, unless you're like some degenerate Long Islander and you don't put that shit on chicken wings.
And when he did come up here, I made sure that he did get a proper beef on wax. So I made sure he did
Now we're
get that.
talking a little. Did you get enough horseradish, Bob, to make your eyes tear?
Honestly, I am not a big horseradish guy. I'm not a big fan of the
Right.
flavor, but I do enjoy a good cuisine in Buffalo. I enjoy it. It's probably to me one of the best places to go for food, in my opinion, at
Yeah.
least.
Although I should take you to the Broadway market where they grind the horseradish fresh, and then you'll really get your eyes watering in there.
If only we were able to bring Seymour down to Long Island for at least an Islander Sabres game, just a casual, the three of us. I bring him to Super Fry. He would absolutely love that shit. I'm just
Not,
gonna
it's
say that right now.
it's not out of the realm there, Bob.
Hey, you never know.
I was
No,
going to say,
if
when you come up to Buffalo and see Tom and I in Niagara, we've got plenty of places to take you.
Yep,
Oh, bring it
absolutely,
on. I'm all for that, brother. I am all for that.
absolutely.
But I do come up for the Bills games, but I was actually the funny thing is that the last time I was in Buffalo was 2 years ago around Christmas time,
Yes.
and I went with Tom to a Sabres game. They were playing Columbus, and I had a buddy of mine who I work with who's a behemoth Dallas Cowboys fan, and we were there for the Bills Cowboys game, but I stayed 2 extra nights for the Sabres game, but I was
Yep.
there for Tom. I was
Yep.
supporting the Sabres. I was rooting for them because I was in Buffalo. Makes sense. And the next thing you know, I'm in Buffalo. I'm at KeyBank Center watching the game, and they got the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, it was a rough night. We ended up getting blown out by Columbus, and sometimes that happens. I mean, you have your off nights, but then you also have good nights too. And
Yeah, tell
yeah, it
Seymour what
happens.
happened in between there. Please tell him because I
Well, I will say this: the game ended. I think it was like an 8-3 final. So we were down, I think, like 7-1 at the end of the second. And basically, unfortunately, a lot of the arena emptied out. It was not a good night for the team there. But on the flip side, though, they did have the Goat Head jersey night going on, so they did have that. And basically from there, afterwards, we spent some time over at Southern Tier Brewery, the right across the street over in the Harbor Center, and basically ended up finishing that out, ended up having some wings and some different things, and that was his night out before he ended up traveling back home.
That sounds like a great night.
yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I mean, I will say I am thankful for that game because it was one of the few teams I've wanted to see was the Buffalo Sabres, but I did see them play the Islanders in 2019 when they were in Buffalo. and the Islanders, like if I'm not mistaken, the Islanders shut them out 3-0. And if I'm not mistaken, Chad Johnson was the goalie for the Sabres at that time because
Yeah.
It is one of them.
I
Yep.
yeah, because Sorokin was in his first year with the team, or it might have been Varlamov. No, it was Varlamov. And Semyon Varlamov was playing for the Islanders at that time. I mean, he still is, but at that time, he was in his prime. And he goes into Buffalo and just outright just sweeps the shit out of them. And I'm just like saying, I'm happy with it, but I'm like, I feel bad for the Sabres because it's like, at that time, they were like, they're trying to be competitive, but it was like tough for them to do that. And the Islanders just come in and just smack them around.
That happened a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It
I
it
don't mean
did.
it in a bad way. It was just they had a lot of tough years,
Yeah.
and they had a lot of really great players, and sometimes it was just maybe team chemistry or a bad night in goal or a weird deflection and
Yeah. Could be,
post,
yeah,
and it was
weird
inches
bounce.
away.
Yeah.
It-
Yeah, so many different things can happen, and I've had a chance to see the Sabres on the road a few times now, also, and always good to see that as well. Actually, one of the times I saw them on the road was actually taking a trip down to my co-host's city down in Long Island, and actually got to see them play in the old Coliseum before that closed down. So it was a good time overall. It's always nice, and just being able to support a team and seeing how they've really become part of this area and really become part of the culture of this area. It's really a great thing to see. And I mean, and your family had a huge role in that, which I know a sports fans certainly appreciate.
Well, as I said, we were really blessed, and at that moment in time in the early '70s,
Yeah.
the NHL was new for Buffalo. You had Montreal coming in, you had Chicago in, you had come in. Of course, Toronto was in. We had a great rivalry right off the bat.
Yep.
Uh, Punch Imlach being the coach and GM here,
Mhm.
and everything seemed to work. At that point in time, too, the players were, I'm going to say, much more accessible than they are today.
Mhm.
And so they were out doing special events within the community. We had a Sabres Carnival. We had open practices. We had an open practice usually during the Christmas holiday break in between Christmas and New Year's, and it was broadcast on television, which was very rare to
Right.
happen anywhere in the league. And
Yeah.
you might have
Without a
had
doubt.
17 or 18,000 people in the arena, even though it only held 15,600 at the
Right.
time.
I remember, and then they raised the roof, and then the roof was raised on the auditorium, like shortly after as well to
Yeah,
accommodate
that,
that
that went
those
up in
extra fans.
the second year or
Yeah.
third year.
Yeah, and I do remember that steep upper deck, how it overhang the ice. And I will say,
Like
it's like
oranges.
that's one of the things I miss. I
Mhm.
mean, and I've sat up there, and it was some of the best sight lines I could certainly remember. And the new arena is great in its own way too. And just
It's very
seeing,
spread out. So
yeah.
when we built it at the time in 1990, well, when we started in 1993,
Mhm.
we couldn't, the fire laws had changed, and which is why they had the open expanse. Well, you
Yeah.
didn't have this. Montreal built their arena at the same time. They were able to get around that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's funny because of the idea that we're talking about the odd is that we had Gil Martin, who was the host of the Lockdown Islanders podcast a few weeks ago, and he mentioned to us that Chicago, Buffalo, and Boston were one of the only three stadiums at that time to make it smaller in terms of their environment. So teams would build their roster just around based on the auditorium. And it was difficult for the players to skate around and the environment it was like crowded in. And I thought that was very infatuated because I never thought of it that way. The Coliseum, like when I was growing up, I used to go to a lot of Islander games at the Nassau Coliseum. And the Coliseum, it was a dump, but it was our dump. But but it reminds me of the odd, mainly because of the idea that, it's so small, but it made the crowd environment much closer than it actually was. You know what I mean? Like like the odd, I've seen pictures of it. It's a very, you know, what is the word I'm looking for? The stadium itself
Tight.
is like it's a very
Yeah,
small like rink
very tight
environment.
building.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Thank you, Tom. But I just find that very unique.
Yeah, we were able to, it had great acoustics too. You could be up in the oranges,
Hmm.
and Tom would be in the first or second row next to the glass, and he could hear somebody right up above
Oh yeah,
talking.
yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
when that building was loud, it was loud. I mean, I absolutely remember that, and just getting to see. Well, the other thing I really remember about that building, besides it being like really tight inside the bowl, which made it for a great experience, was, of course, I remember the non-regulation ice surface, how it was a little bit shorter versus the 200 feet that we see now, and just being able to see the speed, and then of course, much more of a physical game at the time. I mean, there was so many good things, and it really kept you watching. It's really something where if you weren't paying attention to the ice, I mean, you were going to miss something very quick. And it's just a lot of great memories in there, and just especially all the diehard fans and being a part of that.
Yeah, there are a lot of good times in that building. The building
Yep.
was also fun for a lot of other reasons. We used to have the Barnum and
Hmm.
Bailey Circus come in, and the elephants and lions and tigers used to be in the
Yep.
basement of the odd at that time. And sometimes an elephant would pick up some hay and throw it at you, and you'd walk by a lion and
Yep.
he'd roar. It was always an
Yeah.
interesting aroma when the circus was in town, not only from the smell of the animals, but
Mhm.
they used to make tons of popcorn to sell at the
Oh
circus
yeah.
and the powdered sugar candy. I'm just trying the
The cotton candy.
Yep.
cotton.
Yeah, the
Thank you,
cotton candy.
the cotton
Yeah.
candy.
Yep.
Yeah, I got you. But
It was
no,
fun.
the
And then we
Coliseum
had
was lit.
and the Buffalo Braves were there. We had college
Yep.
basketball, and we had wrestling in the old Odd Club,
Hmm.
which Tom, I don't know if you ever saw that or not.
Didn't have a chance to, but I remember that looking back, I know that there were some different wrestling events that took place in there. And then even thinking closer to when the Odd held its final game, I remember the Buffalo Blizzard, the soccer team that was there, the Buffalo Bandits got their start there. Then, of course, the Buffalo Wings, the professional roller hockey team that Rob Ray actually coached for a while. So I remember
Yeah,
that experience too, and seeing some of those events, and just
lest we not forget the late Mark Hamister's Buffalo Destroyers,
yes,
arena
yep,
Did,
football.
yep,
did
that
you
got
say the
started
Buffalo
too.
Wings? Wait, did you say the Buffalo Wings?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
there was
roller hockey
a
team.
yeah the roller hockey team in the early 90s.
The jokes just write themselves.
And there was the Buffalo Stampede too.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I remember that as well. So lots of good memories in that building, and it was. I remember when it finally was demolished and going down there, I'm like, man, that's just so much of my childhood memories I'm seeing in that building, and everything. But it was great to be able to experience that. It just being able to see different events over the years, and then of course now getting having everything moved into the current building as well, and even this past year, just seeing some of the upgrades that have taken place in there too. And I know there's some more that are going to be coming as time goes on, but it's just it's great. It had a great first home, really nice second home now, and and we go from there.
There you go. We're looking forward to going actually Thursday night to see the new sound system that they
Yeah,
have been promising for a few years. And last year they put in
yeah,
a new scoreboard, which
yeah.
is terrific.
Yeah,
And
that scoreboard's really nice. That was a really nice upgrade. I know they did the ribbon boards a couple years before that too, and then just be interesting to see what else they come up with as they go over the next few years.
Yeah, without a doubt. But I actually do have a question for you, Seymour. Because your family is very deeply tied within the city of Buffalo, and obviously you have the connections with the team, and you've been heavily involved with the community and all that. But from a fan's perspective, what would you say was your most vivid memory from the early days of the Sabres, either as a fan or just behind the scenes in general?
well, that's a really good question. Certainly one of them was having the opportunity to fly on the team plane We had an old Convair that they leased, and we flew to Montreal for a playoff series.
Mhm.
And we came back around 2 or 3 in the morning from Montreal, and there were literally 5,000 fans at the airport cheering everybody on. That's one that comes to mind. And there was another moment that was very spontaneous. Tom, you're too young for it, but the crowd spontaneously burst into cheering "Thank you, Sabres," and that was in 19. I think that was in the 1972 year, and that went on for quite a while. Um,
Nice.
So I
and
was
then
gonna say, was that
those are
like
two.
the
Then we saw, somebody like an Alexander McGillney score on his first shift. I think he was like 10 seconds into the game. Rob Ray scored on his first shift, and
Oh,
Doug Smith scored. Uh, we got him a trade with LA, and he scored on his first shift too. I just have been there for all those games, and so that's very memorable.
yeah.
The Brad May goal
Hmm.
uh, sticks out. The Brian Umberger hit.
Oh yeah.
Who was playing for the Flyers? That's was pretty amazing. We were also there for, unfortunately, or for the Clint Malarchuk incident, and then we had Richard
Yeah, I do
Zednak
remember that.
a couple of years after that. Those were both very tragic events, but we were lucky to have had Jimmy Pizzatelli as our trainer, who had been in Vietnam and had the wherewithal to apply his war knowledge into saving the lives of Clint and Richard.
Yeah, and I remember both of those when that happened, and thank goodness everything worked out okay for both of them, and certainly, I remember not too long after, we actually had the opportunity to interview Clint Malarchuk a few years ago, and one of the things he mentioned was wanting to come back right away and get right
And
back in the
he
pipes,
did.
and he did.
He came back within he came back within about 10 days or 2 weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't long, and then of course, Zednik as well too. When that happened, a few years later, similar situation. He came back, and of course he was playing not too long after as well, and definitely glad everything worked out. Best case scenario considering everything, but certainly I remember those, and that was one of those you just you hope it never happens, but you had the right people to take care of it.
Yeah, we
absolutely?
were, as I said earlier, we were very, very blessed
Yeah.
with our staff at the time, and having the knowledge to be able to take care of it. But for Tom and Bob, you know, behind the scenes, we always had an ambulance that was right next to the locker rooms in the configuration of the odd,
Yep.
and in the new building, there's an ambulance that's uh, parked at the arena. It's 100 feet away from the locker room area.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
really quick to get to if God forbid anyone needs it, and hopefully no one does, but if it is a situation that comes up, at least it's right there and everything can be taken care of very quickly.
When we designed the what is now the Key Bank Arena,
Yeah.
we had a full medical room next to the two home and visitors locker rooms, home being the safe. And then we also had a dental room as well with sort of full X-ray and lights and a special dental chair so that the players could go right in, get stitched up, or have their teeth work taken care of.
Interesting.
Sounds like to me that the players had special access to everything, dental insurance, health insurance. I'm sure that was all in just in that one small arena at that time, and it's just kind of just grazed on. Like, do you happen to know if they still have those features about the whole dental part? Is I've never heard that ever with any stadium in general, but I find that fascinating because of the idea that you just told me that, or us in this case. It's kind of cool, honestly. They'd be like, "Hey, you need your teeth cleaned? Just go down on aisle 7. It's right there."
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it was to get their teeth cleaned, but on a game night, anything can happen. You can get a puck in the face, you can get a stick in the
Mhm.
mouth,
Yep. Can
Those
lose a
those
tooth on
types of
a high
things.
stick.
So it was a quick, easy in, easy out, quick fix, quick stitch type of situation. And when we were going through the design process on a new building, we started. And we opened in October of 1996. Dad missed it by a few months.
Right.
But we had taken trips to Cleveland to see. It was the Gund Arena at that time. We'd gone to Boston. They were building a new. They had just opened up their new facility. We went to St. Louis. We had looked at sort of best practices in a number of other arenas. Chicago and Montreal had new buildings that were going up at the same time, and we had a similar architect with Ellerby Beckett at that time, so we were able to incorporate things that they were doing in other buildings while we were still in the design phase.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
We
I
only
mean,
missed out on Olympic ice by two rows.
Oh,
yeah,
right, right. Yeah, but I have to say though, like I remember I was a teenager at the time when the current arena opened. I was like, wow, this place is nice. And it really I think the way that it was set up, it really reflects the Buffalo area very well in terms of everything that was incorporated into it and just seeing how now we're looking at it 30 years later and how it's still one of the better places in terms of sight lines. And I know there's some various updates here and there that are taking place. And it actually, of course, now with the Harbor Center connected, and I think next year they're actually incorporating the old DL&W station back into it as well. They're going to do a sky bridge into there where you're going to have
That would
access
be
to the
great for
train.
those cold winter nights.
Yeah, yeah, and they're going to have and they're actually I think by the end of this year or early next year they're going to have a permanent train station right behind the arena now, and then they're going to build
Yeah,
the bridge into it. So it'll essentially be the third entrance of the arena, which will be neat and helps out in that sense too. So it's nice to see that, it's stood the test of time, so far and it's really held up in a lot of good ways.
I don't know, Tom, if you or Bob ever get a chance to fly United Airlines in and out of Chicago.
I have.
I
I
have never been
have.
to Chicago. It's funny because I'm actually flying out in a couple of days. I think Friday, as of this recording, October 10th, my wife and I are traveling south, I think on United to Atlanta. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to the Monday night game against the Falcons.
Oh, great. That would be fun.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it, honestly. But yeah, no, it's crazy how all this is manufactured and stuff like that. But there is another question I do want to apply here because of the whole ownership thing and things
We're
like
all
that.
ears.
I appreciate that. Salute. But how do you think that the role of ownership has evolved in professional sports since your family's tenure?
Well, that's a great question, Bob. A lot of things have transpired within ownership in sports, not only for hockey but NBA, Major League Soccer, and NFL. And when my dad and uncle started the Sabres, it was very community oriented. We had a number of partners that were older than my dad and uncle were 44 and 42, I think, when we started the Sabres, and they went to some of their older friends that had some more wherewithal to be able to help with everything that was going on financially with the Sabres. And as time moved on, a number of those older friends had retired from their jobs. They didn't have necessarily income coming in, and they weren't like a lot of today's current sports owners, for lack of a better word. Um, when we sold the team to Tom Golisano at the Regas situation, Tom owned the team individually. And then when Tom sold the team, he sold it to uh, Terry Pagula and his family, and Terry had the wherewithal to buy the team whole and own it as he does today. and he also paid cash for the Buffalo Bills when he bought them a few years later for I think it was $1.4 billion. So that's
Yeah.
probably one of the biggest changes, and that would be the wherewithal of current owners. In conjunction with that, the NFL, I can digress a little bit, but the NFL television contracts were significantly higher than what we are currently getting in the television land of the Buffalo Sabres. Uh, just the magnitude of the contract. So that makes a huge difference as well.
Interesting. But did your family, like after you guys sold the team, did you guys get at least maybe like I want to say like the team after it was sold to the Ricketts family, or in this case, Golisano?
Well, in our case, when we did the deal with John Regis's family at the time, Adelphia Cable was publicly traded, and so a number of owners of teams have had publicly traded facility or ownership. You look at Disney when they came in with the Mighty Ducks. You had Cablevision with
I think the Rangers.
well, Cablevision was with the Rangers as well with Jim Dolan, but
Oh
the,
God.
I'm trying to think, John Pickett,
Mhm.
the cable systems in Long Island, his systems were public as well.
Yeah, because James Dolan owns MSG, owns the cable providers. He also owns Madison Square Garden with like his family is tied with the Knicks and with the Rangers. They don't, and he has partial ownership of the Islanders, but John Ledecky and Scott Malkin own the Islanders because before
Yeah,
that
they
it
yeah
was
they do now. I was going back. You probably weren't born when John Pickett was there,
Mhm.
and
no,
John was he was a cable pioneer, and he kept the broadcast rights away from the Islanders when he ended up selling the team.
Mhm.
yeah, because I was around when John Spanos was in process of buying the team, and then the whole scandal came out with him and for fraud, and then getting money that wasn't actually his and fake money and then going to jail for that. And then Charles Wang bought the team allegedly from the Spanos family. It's just it basically an incoherent mess. That's basically what it was for the ownership at the time. And plus the Islanders were not making money. So after, John Pickett sold the team, it was just downwards after
Yeah,
that.
that happens.
And that's what we
Mhm.
call in the modern daily news the shit show in Long Island. And the names Mike Milbury will never come out of my mouth ever again because everybody here hates his ass. And then John Spanos. Two guys, we don't want anything to do with them.
Well, they had some weird deals. I mean, they had the DiPietro, the former goalie for BU,
Yeah.
Mhm.
signed to like a 10-year deal, and
Yep.
15 years. 15 years, $67 million. Dollars. And that to me was the dumbest shit that Garth Snow ever did. And I tell Tom that to this day. And the Islanders, when they bought out his contract, they said that they were not allowed to destroy the contract entirely. They had to pay off his dues until 2029. So they have about maybe four
Another
years left
another four
until they
years.
pay off this deal. And then they just finished up paying Alexei Yashin a few years ago. So Alexei Yashin is off the books. So no, that contract was just abysmal. Even at that age, when I was like 14, 15 years old at that time when they signed him, I'm like, oh, God, this is gonna backfire so bad. And I just
well,
remember thinking, Jesus, this is gonna suck. He's always hurt. He doesn't come up clutch at the playoffs, and I'm just like, why?
but Tom's seeing that up here with the current Saber GM with the number of signings for
Yeah.
long-term deals.
Yeah, there have been quite a few, and actually one of the things that I I still have to question to some extent sometimes is Matthias Samuelsson because here we are, he's hurt again, and it almost seems like every season, the last few seasons, we've seen that. But then I also look at it in a sense where I know the JJ Peterka trade that took place recently. I know that was a little bit of
Oh,
a shocker initially, but then thinking. Michael Kesselring came back and then Doan coming in as part of that, it actually now that I've had some time to process it, I'm like, all right, it makes sense defensively because Kesselring was really the big name of the two that came back from Utah, and actually Kesselring's had a good preseason so far.
Yeah, he has, but he's not. He's also not signed to a 8 year
It's
contract.
right. It's not an 8-year deal either. So a little bit easier to work with, but it is something. Still having a few new faces this year, and knowing that Reda Murka is going to get his start in Rochester, I think that's great for his development. Get him used to the game at the pro level, and certainly looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. And actually,
Yeah,
I'll have to,
hopefully he'll be there 2 or 3 years, which would be nice. The
yeah,
Sabres were rushed into a number of situations the last few years where they had the 18 and 19-year olds coming in and having starting roles, and they didn't have the maturity to be able to handle it. You look at what happened with Devin Levi,
right.
who was the second coming,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
he had
had a great several
a
games
future.
at the end of the season, right? Right. And
Yeah.
then just is one of those. He ended up going to Rochester not too long after, and then another one I'm kind of thinking is Jack Quinn a little bit. I think he was rushed a little bit initially too, but
Yeah, he had a very severe injury too, with severing his Achilles, and hopefully he's back
right.
strong on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully. But then seeing the emergence of Tage Thompson has been great to see also because watching him grow, especially the last few years now that we've had him in becoming one of the more dominant forwards in the game is just great to see him emerge and really take ownership of that line. And of course, Rasmus Dahlin's really come into his own as well, and great to see him playing well. And so there's a lot of positives that I'm seeing going into this season, and then thinking that, especially now, this team having a little more time to gel from last year. I mean, I would think on paper they're definitely in a position where they could make a nice run and be back in the playoffs.
Just pray.
Me too. Me too. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. So, but I did want to change the subject a little bit too, because your family is known for a lot of its philanthropic acts here in the Buffalo area as well. And I know one of the things that the Knox family has a lot of ties to is the AKG Art Gallery. And I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what role do you think that art plays in shaping Buffalo's identity?
Well, I think the city of Buffalo, actually, a number of sort of people around town, with the Convention and Visitors Bureau being one of them, has made a big push on cultural tourism. And I think a lot of that started not only with the art gallery, but certainly after we put on our addition for the gallery, we had five Frank Lloyd Wright buildings here with the Darwin Martin House, Gray Cliff out in the Lakeview area, uh, the project that they did at Forest Lawn, in addition to two other Wright houses being here, sparked a lot of interest in really coming to Buffalo. Buffalo has a very rich architectural base that hadn't been touched. If you were in Long Island, a lot of those old homes would be gone, and they'd be new mega mansions. But
Yeah, that's actually true, believe it or not.
Buffalo was able to keep a lot of their old buildings. There's historical districts, and it's hard to sort of work around some of those obstacles or opportunities that have been put forward. Um, Buffalo is blessed to have a really great museum set up with the Science Museum, the Magnet School that's there, the Buffalo History Museum, which is around the corner from the Albright Knox, and then we also have the Birchfield Penny, which was a brand new facility. Maybe it might be 10 years old now, but maybe a
Yeah.
little older. But that helped spark a lot of the cultural tourism that's been here.
Yeah, and I've been been to well, I remember the old Birchfield Penny. I'm actually a Buffalo State alum, so I remember before they built the new building there, and it's really nice to see what that's evolved into. And then of course I've been to the Albert Knox before, and even before the most recent expansion that took place, and definitely a great asset to this area, and especially I can say, having been there, they do a really nice job of keeping that building really up to what works well for the community. It's really a great cultural addition to this area as well. Just seeing what it does, the impact it makes, and just seeing how it's really sparked a lot of things all around it as well. It's certainly great to see, and then of course, having spent a lot of time in Buffalo as well, of course. You go through many of the neighborhoods. Elmwood Village is a great example of that. Just seeing some of the historic buildings and the architecture, and everything that's here, and even in the downtown area as well. It's great to see, and of course, Frank Lloyd Wright, great architect in his own, done many great designs and projects over the years, and certainly we're lucky to have that here.
Yeah, we're very lucky. You were mentioning the art gallery. We had the annual meeting for the membership last night. I happened to have gone, interested party,
Hmm.
and Jane Siren, who we brought in from Finland to be the executive director about 10 or 11 years ago, announced that we had over 13,000 members of the gallery, which a few years ago was maybe in the 4 or 5,000 uh, numbers. The year of the building, the first year of the new building, we had over 400,000 people come through the gallery doors. So
Yeah, that's amazing to see.
that created
And
a lot of strength, and they had good works with
mhm,
Birchfield. So we had events happening simultaneously, so you could go from one gallery to the next gallery
mhm.
and back across the street and
Yeah,
beyond.
and I'll actually have to take a ride out there again sometime soon too. It's been a little bit since I've been there, but I've always enjoyed going through that through the building there, and just
It would be my
seeing
pleasure,
some of
Tom.
the different works.
Just give
Absolutely.
a call. Bob's got my number.
Absolutely.
We can
And I would
go for
say,
lunch and tour.
yeah, and honestly, I would love to meet you in person sometime if we can make that happen. I would totally love it, and absolutely, it'd be a pleasure.
Tom, if I were you, take Seymour out to the nicest restaurant in that area and just say, beer's on me.
Absolutely. I would be happy to treat you to one. So,
You
so,
should.
Thanks,
so I
thanks, Bob.
absolutely
We'll think of you heavily on that.
Heavily inspired.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tequila for my friends.
Right, right. Well, definitely, of course, Buffalo has no shortage of good places, and many of them I've had the opportunity to go to, and one of the ones there's actually several I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, there's of course, let's see, Austria 166. There's Mulberry, which I've taken Bob to actually one time. One of the times he was up here, several more good places I can think of as
Love
well.
Mulberry.
Yes, the lasagna. The lasagna
Yes,
is one of the best things there.
yes, small berries. I actually remember that
Don't
because
tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
no. Secrets with us. But it's funny because the first time I went to Buffalo in 2019,
Mhm.
well, it wasn't at that time, but with the see Tom, I went in 2019 to the Bills home opener against the Bengals.
Yep.
And the very first time I was up in with my wife to Buffalo, we saw Tom there and we said, what's a good place we could go to eat around here? And he says, oh, there's a little restaurant in this suburban area called Mulberry's, but it's
Hmm.
very tough to get to because so many people, book in advance, and
Hmm.
there's Sabres players that go in there and Bills players go in there, and it's gonna be
Yep.
a bitch to get in there. So I remember saying to Tom, I'm like, well, because we're coming down, why don't
Hmm.
you just book it in advance for us?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I would. And I have a picture in my Facebook page, and it's the three of us
Hmm.
just at Mulberry's. And if I'm not mistaken, Tom, wasn't Mitch Morse there?
Yeah, he was. He was there with his big F-350 and had some of the Bills players with him. So they were all enjoying some time out as well. And we saw them on our way out actually. So we didn't want to disturb them or anything,
Oh no.
but no, it was fun to see them. I think and actually one other time I was there, I think I saw Ed Oliver and a couple people too. So it's
It's a certainly a great spot, and it's nice
it
because it's
is.
also open for lunch.
Yeah, it is, and it's nice to be able to book ahead and get a spot in there, and it's interesting because it's like one of those things where it's in Lackawanna, it's in a residential area, and if you're not super familiar with the area, you're not going to know it's there, but they truly make some great things there. I mean, they do a lot of good stuff.
Their Christmas decorations are fun too.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
The candy cane
absolutely.
hanging from the ceiling.
Absolutely.
Yep,
I love
yep.
Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo is like one of my top five favorite places to go to in terms of visiting. Mainly Buffalo, I go to see Tom, but
Mhm,
whether it's for the Bills or the Sabres or just the scenery in general, I love going to
mhm.
Buffalo. And this is coming from a guy who lives on the Long Island and it's beautiful in the summer, Jones Beach and the Montauk Lighthouse and all this fun shit. It's like everybody says to me, I should come down to Long Island. I'm like, yeah, it's awesome down here in the summer, but it's like depressing in the wintertime because there's like nothing to do. Unless you're like an Islander fan like myself and or in anything for that matter, there is stuff to do, but you just have to find what you're looking for.
Right.
In Buffalo,
Or take the train into New York City in 45 minutes from your
yeah,
house.
exactly.
There
What
you go.
yeah,
We've done that
exactly.
before when I've been
Which
down there, so
the only time I would ever really consistently do that is if I'm just going to a Rangers game because I
Sorry,
fucking
what?
hate the Rangers. I hate the Rangers. I hate the Rangers, period.
Oh
I'll
man.
just put that on the show
Yeah.
because there are Ranger
So does
fans who
that
do.
mean you're not going to be cheering for them against the Sabres on Thursday?
Well, I hope for the Sabres to win, but at this point, there's two teams I like: the Islanders and anybody who beats the Rangers.
There you go.
That's how I look at it. Um, so because of your ties with the city and with the AKG Arts Gallery in Buffalo, what would you say is what's one thing Buffalo has held on to that you're proud of the most, and one thing that you wish you could have let go of?
Well, I think you know a lot of the culture of the city is still here, and I think because and Tom may agree with me on some of this. For a long time, Buffalo was extremely affordable for families, and the schools that are here, you get a great bang for your buck for education, so to speak. And there's a lot of terrific schools that are here, at least in the city, with Nichols, Canisius, St. Joe's, Narden,
Yeah.
Buff Sem, uh,
City Honors is another one.
City Honors. That was my next one that was coming up. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's provided a lot of, and there's a lot of great charter schools that are here as well. So there's a great quality of well-educated kids that are having the opportunity to go on to colleges and universities, some locally and some out of town. And I have two boys; they're in their mid 30s, and they both had the opportunity to come back. And what happened around the country to a lot of other cities hit here late. So things uh, in Buffalo were still very affordable in terms of, buying a house or buying a double or triple or a quad, for that matter. And you're able to raise families here very inexpensively.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah,
say cheaply because things have been moving around.
Sure.
Food prices, we're lucky. We've got Wegmans here from Rochester, and we've got top supermarkets. They're all involved in our community, which helps make it great. We've got 11 colleges and universities that are here. Uh, so we have an educated workforce. There's a great school. It's a hidden treasure. I don't know, Tom, if you've even heard of it, called Northland. It's not based on
I
Northland Street.
have. I have, and I've actually
They're
very
using it as a
familiar with
model for
that.
the state.
hmm Yeah, great programs that they have there. And actually, one of the things that I've done as part of my job is I'm actually a recruiter for my daytime job, and very familiar with what Northland does and the programs they have and what they're able to do with people with getting them into the skilled trades and helping them develop. And it's been an asset, and it's really nice to see how that program has really continued to build. And become even stronger now, even from when it first started.
Yeah, they've had over 1,600 graduates. I had the opportunity to go to graduation at Rich Atrium two Fridays ago, and it's Deion Dawkins was the keynote speaker, which was fun from the Buffalo Bills,
Yep.
and it's just great. Stephen Tucker came up from Cincinnati. He's an ardent Bengal fan, but we won't hold it against him.
We have seen a Bills game in person in Cincinnati actually a couple years ago. So, and unfortunately,
But
we did have to
he's
do
done
the
an
walk of
amazing job.
shame. Yeah, yeah. And after we lost to the Bengals, we had to do the walk of shame back to the Kentucky side of the river. So, where we were staying, that was a rough game to watch, but we enjoyed it though.
Well, I think
Absolutely.
we're really blessed. We've got, Bob, you were asking, what are some of our big assets? And I would say certainly Lake Erie, Niagara River, and Lake Ontario. Even though it's not, Buffalo's not right on Lake Ontario, but we're certainly right on Lake Erie. And I think what's going to be happening with fresh water in the next probably 20 to 30 years will make Buffalo very popular
Yeah.
again.
I hope so. I mean, Buffalo is a nice, charming city. I've met a lot of people in Buffalo, Tom included, and they just want to see the city rise up. And I think eventually it's gonna get back on track eventually as like a top destination like city. Because for one, I've been to Buffalo about maybe 5, 6 times. I love it every time I go there, but there's always something unique every time I go to Buffalo. I feel like I'm at home, even though I'm there mostly for obviously I was saying earlier, see Tom and all that, but it just feels like home in some aspect, like a second home to me.
It's very homey. It's easy to be content. I'm not going to say to be content because that's too easy, but it's got uh, a great feeling about it. The people are all, it's very rare that you'll meet somebody that's nasty to you,
Mhm.
except for
Yeah,
maybe an out of towner at a game, at a sports event.
Sure.
But
yeah.
we're very lucky. We're very, very lucky in that there's a lot of great opportunities here, and there's a great quality of life, and especially for your ages, guys wide open. We've got 43 North here. They have their finalists for the Tech Awards. I think that's in 2 weeks. For Bob, you probably didn't know, but they have a lot of startup companies that are here. 43 North
Yeah, I think
runs
Wheaties started in Buffalo, if I'm
uh,
not mistaken.
pardon me.
I think isn't Wheaties started in Buffalo? Like they were like a big cereal company in Buffalo a few years
Yeah,
ago,
that was
or
part of General Mills. Wheaties, Lucky Charms, and Milk Bone dog biscuits.
Yep.
I wasn't
Yeah.
that far off though. I will say that.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
On a good day, on a Thursday, usually, if you're downtown, down by that area, it's it's a smell that you love to smell.
Yep. Yep. I've
Yeah,
been down there plenty of times with that. And then even thinking about just seeing how the city's kind of emerged, especially last 10 to 15 years, especially just seeing all the new development down at Canal Side and how that's really starting to take off. And then even looking at some of the technology companies that have come here and thinking about how that's starting to grow too. I know Fountain Plaza has a tech company called Ado that's there now, which does a lot with manufacturing companies, and they do a lot of softwares and different things like that. It's just really nice to see some of that investment coming in and having more people be downtown more often. And it's nice to really starting to see some of that grow again. and that's something I've noticed in the time I've been here. And you're 100% right about people being great here as well too. And that's something I've noticed anytime I've been in the city, or which I'm usually there at least once a week. And then even where I'm from, I'm actually closer to Niagara University where I live, but I'm literally about 500 yards from the Niagara Falls city line. And a lot of good people up here too, and just really great to have some really nice neighbors where I live as well.
Yeah, DeVoe Woods is beautiful
It is. It is. Parts of LaSalle
up
are
there.
really nice up here as well. And but yeah, DeVoe is a great spot up here.
And they've got we've got uh Bob, for you're not up here, but we have a great trail network here. A friend of mine was working on a bike trail from Lake Ontario down to Erie, Pennsylvania, and
Interesting.
he's been working hard on that behind the scenes, and parts of it are getting built every year. There's great hiking up in Tom's area around Niagara
Yep.
Falls and
Devil's
the
Hole.
power plant, and
Yep.
really, really great.
Yeah, and I'm literally about 5 minutes from the power plant,
There you go.
so not too far from it, and really close to Devil's Hole State Park, and of course the Whirlpool, and a lot of nice places up here as well, and then even thinking about going further north, of course, Fort Niagara, Youngstown, great community, Lewiston's great community, which I mean that's only about 15 minutes from me, and lots of great areas, a lot of hidden gems in this area too.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like I've seen, I mean, maybe you two know about it more than I do, is that I've seen that statue. I want to say it's near Lake Erie, Tom or Seymour, one of you could correct me. Um, isn't there a statue of like a shark girl, like a girl with a shark head?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
a canal side.
that's a outside piece of art that the Albright Knox has done. We acquired it actually from Cincinnati, Ohio,
Oh,
and we put her down in Buffalo by the outdoor skating rink,
Mhm.
rotary rink. Uh, that's the wrong name, but we're doing a big project outside of where the arena is, and so Shark Girl sits there, and she's become a cultural phenomenon for many
Yep.
here in Western New York.
so
Yep.
before we get to Tom's next question, my question is, who came up with the shark girl idea? Because I've never really heard like an origin story about it.
Uh, Somebody had created the piece. The gallery was fortunate enough to be able to acquire it. We have a community art um, uh, sort of director. His name is Aaron Ott, and he does a lot of the works with a lot of the buildings around town that are, we have 10-story murals in some places, 15 and another, you know, 2-story murals. And that's helped increase the vibrancy of some of the neighborhoods where these were going on. And, we send them to, events to learn about what's happening with cultural art outside of, the museum. So we're very, very, very involved with the city and the county. And charcoal was discovered, as I said, down in Cincinnati, and we were able to acquire it and bring it to Buffalo.
It's very neat.
I was gonna, s-
As
is
I
that
say, and I've had a chance to see it too. It's definitely a great piece. A lot of people have come to see it ever since, and it's a big part of it's one piece of what's helping attract more people to the downtown.
yeah. It's interesting because I didn't even know, like I don't know who came up with the idea of Shark Girl, but I'm glad though that there is some sort of like backstory behind it. So thank you, Seymour, for that.
Yeah,
Honestly,
if you send me your email offline, I'll get you the backstory.
deal.
Very neat. You got it.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
it. Yeah, so thinking about next question I wanted to ask is of course with the combination of sports and the arts. And how do you see the intersection of sports and the arts in Buffalo's cultural narrative?
Well, I would say put the metal put the pedal to the metal.
All
You know,
right.
we
Rock on.
we have we have a very vibrant art scene that's here. There's probably 50 art galleries besides, the Albright Knox, Gunlack, the AKG, Birchfield Penny, Buffalo Art Studios. There's one down in the old Kleinhans building that Peter Hunt owns. He's got a new gallery that's there. And then there's a ton of tiny 3 or 4 space galleries. There's some on Niagara Street. There's some off of Hurdle Avenue. There's some up in Niagara Falls. Certainly, Rochester has got a strong, vibrant art scene as well.
Yeah,
And of course,
and thinking about even Niagara University, the Castellani Art Museum, which has been around for
Castellani
some
is
years
a real
as
hidden
well.
gem. It's great.
It is.
They've got a very dynamic executive director there. Scott Propiak is very dynamic over at Birchfield. And of course, Yanni Zirin, who we brought in from Helsinki 10 or 11 years ago for the AKG.
Hmm. That's honestly pretty impressive. I mean, I'm just really infatuated by this because of the fact that I didn't even know that like half of the stuff that was being imported was from other cities, like Shark Girl and everything else you just basically said. I'm really impressed by this because I thought that they were all built in Buffalo, like at home. That's what I thought it was. But then I later find out from you that, like, oh, they came from here. It came from Helsinki. It came from Cincinnati. I guess that in a way, it gives it an interesting touch that not many people would like look deep into. You know what I mean? As far as like the casual visitor. Like, if I went back to Buffalo tomorrow and I'd be like, oh, I wonder if that was from here or whatnot, you wouldn't really think of it. And then all of a sudden there's a background to it.
So one of my favorite pieces, just for fun, is we had a aeronaut brought in a gentleman from Austin, Texas, named Joseph, and he did I think an 8 or 9 story uh, mural on a building that's down where Bray Miller's Market is, Tom.
Hmm. Yep.
And unfortunately, Bray Miller's closed, but the mural's there. And when you're coming in on uh, the 33 downtown, you'll see this giant mural that's there. Well, Joseph was so enamored with being here in Buffalo instead of Austin when it was like 110 degrees. He tries to come up here for a week every summer because he enjoyed the cultural and artistic community so much.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and lots of great spots here in the area for that too, as you mentioned, and it's really nice to see how it keeps evolving and it keeps getting better and better every single year in terms of new additions and being able to see new pieces of art being brought into the community and just seeing how the community just accepts it and it really grows in so many ways. It's just great to see that it's really kind of become part of our identity in that sense.
I think something else that's really interesting, Tom and Bob, is that on the culturals, they've taken a lot of the directors or um, deputy directors, and they all get together every month. So you got the director of the gallery, and if not Yane, then Jillian, our number two, with Scott from Birchfield, with Melissa from the History Museum. They've got a very dynamic director and a big addition going on at the Botanical Gardens in South Buffalo. Um, everybody's talking,
Yeah.
which for a long time everybody was siloed.
Yeah. And
They're trying to figure out what can we do to make Buffalo even better than what it was or will be.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's good to see it. It's good to see it. And Botanical Gardens, another beautiful building in the area too, and just a lot of great things to see there. And as you mentioned, so many good things, so many hidden gems, and a lot of things that can catch people's eye, which is certainly a great thing to see here as well. I did want to ask a question in terms of some art in just your opinion. Is there a specific piece of art, either public or private, that you feel best represents Buffalo's spirit?
Buffalo Spirit. That's a good question because the Albright Knox has over 7,000 works, and on any given on any given day, you have a different love affair with a different artist in their work. So I think the Rothko for me is great. I love conversions with the Jackson Pollock, and you think of everything that's converging in Buffalo, not only in the past but in the future, is tied into that particular painting. I'm partial to Grandpa Knox's 85th birthday present, which was the Andy Warhol with Grandpa in five
Hmm.
different colors,
Yeah.
and I think that embodies a lot of sort of the colors of Western New York and being a bright, vibrant place moving forward. I think a lot of it has to deal with how you wake up in the morning
Well,
Sure.
and the
well,
opportunities that you see.
I was gonna say, do you have like a favorite like sculpture or like a favorite statue and all that? You just explained that part of it, but like, do you have like a favorite statue that you're like the most proud of as far as like saying, yes, people can at least appreciate the work that we brought into it?
Well, I wasn't around when we brought a lot of the sculptures in. I mean, I like a weird piece that's really not on display very often. That was done by a woman who painted. She painted cars out in very iridescent, big ball, but it's got square. I can tell you the name of it. But on my walks in Delaware Park, I see the Hunter, which is a really cool smaller statue. I see the statue of David on my
Yep.
walks on the Delaware Park Lake, Hoyt Lake.
Hmm.
So those are sort of two. Inside there's the Giacomettis, there's the Henry Moores, there's the David Smiths. Um, we sold a piece when we had our deaccessioning, the Huntress. It ended up being at the Met. And it's sort of the main piece that you see when you walk in. But we ended up we deaccessioned it from the gallery. But that was a
Oh,
favorite. That was a favorite at the time.
absolutely, without a doubt. But I actually do have a follow-up question. Well, not really, but because we actually do have two more questions we'd like to ask you. And before we get to it, we just want to say thank you for the time for being on here tonight, Seymour. It's an absolute privilege to have you here.
It's my pleasure, Bob.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Really.
the question I do want to ask you is how do you balance honoring family legacy with forging your own path?
Um, sometimes it can be uh, overwhelming, and it depends on the time of year when you're there. Everything that my dad and uncle did within the sports world, I'm extremely proud of. I was blessed to have had 20 years with the Sabres organization, 17 of them working with my dad and uncle. And, we were able to build at the time was the Marine Midland Arena, which is now the Key Bank Center. And that's still going strong. And, we were blessed to be able to have had, the Sabres. I started the Buffalo Bandits. That's going gangbusters. We've won uh, three championships the last 3 years.
Yep.
When we first started, we won three championships within our first 5 years, and that was a tremendous marketing success. We also had the soccer team that unfortunately left town, but I think it's a pretty good legacy when you look at it over a 50-year period. Well, actually, 54 years now.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then thinking about even outside of sports, just the things that your family has helped with in so many causes in this area. I mean, it just really even further adds to the legacy and just really it shows that. your family truly cares about this area. They want this area to keep doing well. They want it to move forward, and I think that is absolutely great to see. Because there's some cases not everyone wants that, but it's really great to see that your family is still very actively involved in the area and wanting to keep making it better every day.
Well, we were really lucky. As I said, we also have had a number of other legacy families here behind the scenes in Western New York. Bob Rich's family, certainly the Jacobs
Yep.
family from Delaware North, are picking up from where my our family left off. I think with Jeffrey Gunlack, with his contribution to the art gallery, monumental, and it'll be even more so as time moves on. And I think there's another gentleman maybe in our conversation, Tom, you would be familiar with the name, in Doug Jamal, and a lot of the
Hmm.
acquisitions that
Yeah.
uh, he acquired and has been able to retrofit or renovate um, to keep a lot of that going as well.
Yeah.
Doug said he's at an older age now. I think he's 84, 85. And you wonder if his kids have the same passion for Western New York that some of the people in my generation uh, have inherited, so to speak.
Sure. And I know with Doug
And certainly
Jamal,
the
yeah.
Pagulas as well. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at now with Keeping Center and the Harbor Center together and how they have the NHL Combine every year and being able to have worked with that the last several years running and the NHL draft, which I went to I believe that was in 2016 when we had that here, and that was great to see as well. And then thinking about what Doug Jamal has done recently with the old 1 HSBC Center that's downtown and being able to transform that and really help take it from being almost fully vacant to now being a great mixed use property and has a lot of things that turned around and he's really invested as well and then even thinking about one that came out more recently too with I know Tom Golisano during his time with the Sabres and then of course now with making the largest investment ever in the Children's Hospital and going to be bringing that forward as well. So great to see a lot of people still really wanting to not only invest but to help improve the city, even if it's not just by investment, but just a lot of the thought that they have and just taking those actions.
Yeah, it's been, as I said earlier, Tom, we've been very, very blessed to have a
Yeah,
lot of really interesting people move back to Western New York, and they're able to do good things and continue to keep Buffalo growing in a positive way.
absolutely. And then I wanted to wrap up our conversation, Dave, by asking what would you say is a lesson or value that was passed down from your father that you always carry with you?
It's pretty easy. Keep your eyes open. Keep your
That's a
eyes
good
open.
one.
Keep your ears open, and really listen to what's being said.
That's great advice. And I want to say, first and foremost, it has been it has been a fun hour with you, I have to say, and I would love to have you come back again, and certainly I know we would love to have you come back and talk with you more and absolutely I would love to take you to Mulberry at some point too. So certainly would love to do that. But also have to say one other thing. It's actually interesting how we have how our jerseys are going tonight because I have the red and black third jersey, you have the 50th anniversary jersey, and he has some fisherman jersey. So
Go fuck yourself, Tom. Okay. All right, I'm gonna shove
but
that up your ass.
Well, Tom, your red jersey was one of my projects
nice.
actually that
Yeah.
we started in 1994 as we were getting ready to go into the new arena in 1996.
Yep. Absolutely.
And you probably, I don't know, how old were you in 1995?
In
So
'95,
in 95, I would have been, so I actually would have only been, I would have been 13 at the time.
Oh,
I was
great.
probably Yeah, I was probably about maybe I was born in 92, so I want to say maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah. So this might be more applicable for Tom, Bob.
Yeah.
No, no offense. So we
No,
ended
don't
up
worry about it.
we hired a firm called JDK up in
Mhm.
Burlington, Vermont. I had gone to high school with a guy. Uh, his name was John Carpenter, but he went by Jake Burton. That was his alias.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And he was living in Burlington, Vermont, and he had sort of one-off designs for all of his snowboarding equipment that he was doing at the time. And I said, "Hey, Jake,
Right.
who do you use?" And he said, "We use a design firm called JDK up in right here in Burlington, and they do great work." So we had a contest. We had 5 or 6 other design firms, and some that had been recommended by the league and also CCM, who was making the league jerseys at that time.
Mhm.
And after the competition, JDK ended up winning it with their work, and then they spent 6 or 7 months coming up with the goat head, as they called it, and then we ended up doing the butter blade, which Tom has on his
Yep. Mhm.
with the red, but
Yeah.
we hadn't really used black. It was hard to mess black up.
Yeah.
CCM had been going through some issues with behind the scenes with their threads. The Bruins gold and the Sabres gold and St. Louis and Toronto all ended up having the same colors and same yarns, even though we were all way off on the charts, color charts.
Yeah, I always have an appreciation with the red black jerseys because I mean I respect the Sabres as a team in general, but I always love the goat head red black uniforms. That's probably like one of my top 3 favorite uniforms in all of hockey. I mean, you
Thank you.
have the Sabres, you have a bunch of other teams as well, like the Screaming Eagle for the Capitals. That was one of my favorites growing up. Fisherman, not so much, but I do have it as a nostalgia vibe to it because, well, it represents Long Island. And I remember very briefly when we were talking to Darius Kasparaitis a few months ago. I remember talking to him about this, and he said that, I was there for the reveal with Brett Lindros. That's Eric Lindros's younger brother. And he said, I hated the jersey. And he loved the patching, but he just hated it. He's like, it's an abomination. And then it's like a month or 3 after the jerseys were released, Mike Bilberry traded him to the Penguins. It's like, thank God I don't have to worry that shit again.
Well, it was an awkward the way
Mhm.
this piece was hard to for the players to move around, and we had the same issue with the Buffalo because it was so thick. It took you know it just moved awkwardly on the front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
We
But
went from
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we went from one font similar to what the Islanders had to 7.
Mhm.
Yeah, but like I said, the Sabres Goat Heads jerseys are one of my all-time favorite uniforms in all of hockey. No doubt about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and,
Absolutely.
and it was a great way to start the new era in the new building too, and just with the changeover and how everything worked out, and I have to say without a doubt, the Knox family, and I know your dad and your Uncle Northrup as well. I mean, they're always going to be remembered for bringing the Sabres here and really bringing Buffalo to that next level. So I just want to say, first and foremost, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I have to say, for being able to have the conversation with you today and being able to talk about the sports as well as different things within the city as well too. It's been a pleasure, and we certainly would love to have you back in the future and talk some more. It'd be great.
Anytime. Thank you, Tom. Thank you,
You're
Bob. Thanks
welcome.
for the reach out
Absolutely, Seymour. Our pleasure.
when I got
Absolutely.
this line.
Well, absolutely. You're a fun person to talk to. We'd love to have you back. So thanks again for coming
Set a
on.
date.
And yes, and certainly, we'll definitely, we'll talk more as we go forward. We'll have some more fun together.
Perfect. And as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, if you want to go for a gallery tour and lunch anytime, let me know.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I would love to do it. So,
You too,
so
Bob. When you come up to Buffalo.
You should come down to Long Island. That's what you should do.
Can I bring my dogs?
Hey, Jones Beach.
Shark bait.
Right. Oh man. Well, of course, Seymour Knox, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you,
All right.
Bob. Have a great
All
night.
right. You too.
You too.
Take
Thank
care.
you.